Welcome back to Clark's Ring Rants. Let's get straight into today's video. So it's been reported by the king of sources, Mr. Mike Coppinger himself, that Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu could take place this summer. Now, this would mean Errol Spence would be fighting for the first time in 3 years. He's not fought since that terrible beating he took against Terence Crawford in their undisputed fight. That was back in the summer of 2023. As I mentioned, he's not fought since. He was going to fight Fundora. He was looking at a few other fights, but none of them ever came to fruition. And you'd have to imagine if Errol Spence does come back, 36 years of age he'll be by the time he gets in the ring. He's not going to have too much left, I wouldn't have thought. Even going into that Terence Crawford fight, a lot of people were of the opinion that Errol Spence was a spent force by that stage. He'd had the car crash, he'd been drinking, he'd been blowing up in between camps, he'd been putting weight on. He wasn't the same fighter that fought the likes of Kell Brook earlier on in his career. Some people thought he'd already seen better days by the time he fought Terence Crawford. Now, that's not to take away from Terence Crawford. It was a fantastic win, but a lot of people were of that opinion. So the question would be, why would Spence come back now and why would he choose Tim Tszyu as an opponent? I'm not too sure. Maybe the money's run out. Maybe the hunger's back in his belly. It's very bizarre for him to make a comeback at this stage, in my opinion. Now, as for Errol Spence as a fighter, I always used to really like watching Errol Spence. I thought he had very good fundamentals. I think the best way to describe Errol Spence would have been he was a jack of all trades, but he was a master of none. He didn't have any outstanding attributes, like he didn't have dynamite in his left hand, for example. He wasn't lightning quick, but he was pretty good at just about everything. He was a versatile boxer. He was a very good all-rounder, but nothing too flashy, just a great all-round boxer. Now, if this fight was a prime Errol Spence going up against Tim Tszyu, I'd pick him every day of the week, but we just don't know what Errol Spence has got left. We don't know what he's going to look like. And he's not even going to have a tune-up fight before he goes into this one. He'll just be going straight in there, back at world level, moving up a weight against Tim Tszyu. As for Tim Tszyu, he's 31 years of age, former WBO light middleweight world champion. His form as of late, it's been a bit of a mixed bag, I think it's fair to say. He lost the split decision to Fundora back in 2024. He then got knocked out badly by Bakhram Murtazaliev later on that year. He just couldn't seem to get out of the way of the left hooks. He looked a bit flat, he looked stunned in there, and many people thought he was finished. He had a little knockover, comeback win after that. He went back in with Fundora, but he retired on his stool after the 7th round. I don't want to say the dreaded Q word, but he was in no fit state to continue. Since then, he's had another comeback victory. He beat Anthony Velasquez over 10 rounds back in December. And according to Mike Coppinger, he'd be looking to have another little tune-up in Australia before jumping in there with Spence. Now, this fight really is the definition of a crossroad fight. Loser leaves town for good. Tim Tszyu, he's had 3 shots at the big time now. He's come up short. Where could he go from here, really, if he didn't win this fight? And as for Errol Spence, I guess it's a bit of a free hit for him. He's been out for so long, no one knows what he's going to look like. No one other than himself and his team really know what he's got left. If he comes back and he gets blown away by Tim Tszyu, well, everyone's just going to put their hands up and say, well, that's not the Errol Spence we know. That's not the Errol Spence that fought Sean Porter, that fought Kell Brook, that fought Chris Algieri. It's a shell of a man. He shouldn't have come back. He just wanted to roll the dice, see what he had left, and he just came up short. As for Tim Tszyu, if he loses, like I say, it's a really long way back from him, and I'm not sure where he'd go from there. Maybe he'd have to move up, try and win a belt at 160, but the 154 division's pretty stacked at the minute. We've got Boots, we've got Ortiz, Murtazaliev just lost, we've got Josh Kelly, we've got Xander Zayas. There's a lot of fighters in there, and it's going to be difficult to get a hold of those belts, you'd have thought, because Boots is going to get a hold of one pretty soon. Ortiz is going to get a hold of one as well, unless them two end up fighting each other, that is. So the division's full of sharks at the minute. You've got Fundora, he's fighting Keith Thurman as well. So for the loser, it'll be a really long way back. As for a winner in this fight, like I said, if this fight would have happened years ago when it was a prime Spence, I'd pick him every day of the week, but I do think the fact that he's 36 years of age, he's been out of the ring for so long, he took a beating in his last fight, and we can't underestimate what impact that's got to have on a fighter physically and mentally. He got embarrassed, he was dropped multiple times, he was stopped. We don't know how that's affected Spence psychologically. maybe that's one of the reasons why he's not fought in so long. It's taking him this long to come to terms with what happened in the ring against Crawford. So as for a prediction, I don't know. I think I'd have to lean towards Tim Tszyu purely because he's been more active, he's younger, he still feels like he's got something to prove. Errol Spence has been to the top of the mountain. What is there left for Errol Spence to prove? I'm not too sure. So I think I'm going to have to edge towards Tim Tszyu, and don't underestimate how much of a big win this could be for Australian boxing as a whole if Tim Tszyu was able to pull it off against a former pound-for-pound guy, a former unified welterweight champion. It'd be a massive scalp for him and for Australian boxing. As for Errol Spence, I think he's crazy going straight into this fight, coming off a 3-year layoff. I'd definitely, if I was in his team, be advising him, take a tune-up, see how you feel, see if you've still got the passion for it. Remember, he's not been hit on the chin for 3 years. He needs to get used to all that. He's going to have to work off a lot of ring rust. I'd definitely like to see him have a fight before he jumps back in undercooked against a real live dog in Tim Tszyu. But what do you think? Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu, potentially. We could be getting it this summer. Who do you think could win? It's an interesting fight. What has Errol Spence got left? What has Tim Tszyu got left? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.